All right, let's dive into a topic that I know can feel super complicated for any creative entrepreneur: international taxes on Etsy. If you're selling your amazing creations all over the world, then this is for you.
You know that feeling, right? You get this amazing rush of excitement from an international sale. And then it's immediately followed by this wave of, oh no, what about the taxes? Trust me, you are not alone. It's a really common hurdle, but it's one you can totally get over.
But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be so confusing. Our goal in this explainer is to give you a really simple, powerful way to think about it all. We're going to organize this whole complex mess into clear, manageable pieces. Let's turn that confusion into clarity.
So here's how we're going to do it. We'll start with the big picture, the global tax puzzle. Then we'll zoom in on the specifics, like the tax on your fees and the tax on your profit. We'll also cover when Etsy actually steps in to help, how your data gets shared, and then we'll wrap it all up with a simple checklist. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the global tax puzzle. Instead of thinking about international taxes as one big, scary monster, it really helps to see it as a puzzle with 4 main pieces that affect you as a seller. And we're about to look at each one. First up, let's tackle the most straightforward piece of this whole thing, the tax on your seller fees. This is just the tax that gets applied to the services that Etsy provides to you. Pretty simple, right?
So the most important thing to get here is that this is not a tax on your product. It's a tax on what Etsy charges you for their services. In a lot of countries, governments make Etsy collect sales tax, like VAT or GST, on their own fees for things like listings and transactions.
Let's just walk through a quick example. Say you're a seller in the UK and Etsy charges you a £10 fee. The government says Etsy has to add 20% VAT, so that's another £2. Your total becomes £12. But that extra £2, you don't have to worry about it. Etsy sends it straight to the UK's tax agency. It is all handled for you.
All right, now for the big one, the tax on your shop's profit. This is where the responsibility really shifts over to you, the business owner.
And this is probably the most important distinction you need to make. You do not pay income tax on your gross sales. That's all the money that comes into your shop. No, you pay tax on your net profit. And that's what's left over after you subtract all your business expenses. Materials, shipping, ads, the whole shebang.
So let's make this really clear with an example for a seller in India. Let's say they make 10 lakh rupees in total sales, but they had 6 lakh in expenses for all their materials, ads, and fees. The government is only interested in taxing that 4 lakh rupees of actual profit. That number right there, that's your taxable income.
Okay, so after talking about your responsibilities, let's get to the good stuff when Etsy actually steps in and handles some of this for you. There are 2 main ways Etsy will automatically collect or withhold tax, and honestly, it can be a huge help.
Now, the difference here is so important. On one side, you have withholding tax. That's money taken out of your earnings. On the other side, you've got marketplace tax. That's extra money collected from the buyer on top of your price. In both cases, Etsy sends the cash to the government, but where that money comes from is totally different.
So where does Etsy actually do this withholding from your payouts? Well, right now, the 2 main examples are India, with something called Tax Collected at Source, or TCS, and Mexico for their income tax and VAT.
Let's follow the money in this Indian example, okay? On a 1,000 rupee sale, Etsy has to withhold 1%, which is 10 rupees, so you get a payout of 990. But listen, that 10 rupees isn't just gone forever. It's actually a credit that you can claim back when you file your official GST returns.
Now, for the other side of the coin, marketplace tax. This is way, way more common. I mean, look at this list. In all of these places, if an order is going there, Etsy automatically figures out the right sales tax, charges it to the buyer, and you don't have to lift a finger. It is a massive relief for sellers.
Okay, let's switch gears for a second. In today's digital world, being tax compliant isn't just about money anymore. It's also about data. And governments, well, they want to see that data. So have you heard of this? DAC 7. If you sell to anyone in the European Union, this is a rule you absolutely need to know about.
So what the heck is it? Well, basically, DAC 7 is a transparency rule. It legally forces online marketplaces like Etsy to gather key information about their sellers, like your sales info and tax ID, and report it directly to tax authorities in the EU. It's all about making sure everyone's compliant.
And don't think this is some far-off thing in the future. Nope, it's already happening.
Etsy started collecting this data back in January 2023, and they sent their very first official reports to the EU in January of 2024.
And you know what? The EU is not alone here. From Canada and France to India and the US, a lot of governments now require Etsy to report seller data. This is a global trend, and it's all moving towards more and more tax transparency. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. So for this last section, let's just boil it all down and pull everything together into a simple, powerful checklist that you can actually use.
Here it is, the 5 big ideas. Number 1, Etsy charges tax on its own fees. Number 2, you pay income tax on your net profit, remember, not your gross sales. 3, in some places, Etsy will withhold tax from your payout. 4, in lots of places, Etsy collects the sales tax from the buyer for you. And 5, your sales data is being reported to governments. That's it. That's the framework.
Now we absolutely have to end with this crucial disclaimer. This explainer, it's all about giving you a clear framework to understand this stuff. It is not tax advice. Etsy can't give tax advice, and neither can we. For your own specific situation, you have got to talk to a local tax professional.
But hey, now you have the structure. You get it. You understand the different pieces of the puzzle and how they all fit together. Hopefully that confusion is gone, and you've got a clear map instead. So the only real question left is, what are you going to do with it?